In the headlines, optimism in the Kainago territory that a renovated Barana Ote will boost tourism and create employment. Former Freedom Party Press Secretary Parry Bellet says new leadership could be best for the people of Venezuela. And the National Youth Council concerned about the potential impact that decriminalizing marijuana could have on the country's vulnerable young people. I am Andrea Lee with the Channel 5 News, back with the details after this.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil. Anywhere you are.
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
There's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
Thank you for staying with us. First up, a significant tourism project has reopened in the Kainago territory following a $500,000 renovation project. The Kainago Village by the Sea, or Barana Ote, which began operations in 2006, was severely damaged by Hurricane Maria in 2017, causing tourism activity there to dwindle significantly. Last year, works began on renovating the property, which provides an avenue to display the Kainago way of life through arts and craft, culinary practices, and dance, among other features. On Thursday, officials from the Ministry of Tourism and Culture and the Discover Dominica Authority were on hand for the reopening of the Kainago Village by the Sea. Minister for Tourism and Culture, Robert Tong, says the refurbished Barana Ote will benefit those involved in the tourism industry in that area.
We definitely have to do our best and all work together to market the site even better so that the persons who depend on the dollars that are being generated from tourism will benefit from it. But we all have to do our part. And that's why we were committed to bringing the Kainago Barana Ote back to what it was. And we're hoping that we can even bring it back better. And this is one of I think this is the #1 project in terms of the amount of money that we spent. We spent in excess of $500,000 on this particular project only, again, to ensure that it is brought back to what it was and even better if we could.
Minister Tong also revealed the level of restoration work that went into getting the Barana Ote back up and running.
In terms of the restoration in both of synthetic and local thatch, to the cabby and also the E-frame, the repainting of all concrete floors on the site, restaining of all the structures, the trail repairs, the railings and bridge crossings. As you know, a lot of damage was there, and even from the traditional maintenance, I guess some of that. Sometimes you have to look at the negative things that happened, which was the storm, but sometimes it allows you to put other things in place that you should have done before. Repairs and restoration of the kitchen, painting, shelving, the netting, reconstruction of the damaged A-frame and gazebo, which was re-roofed with synthetic and also thatch shingles.
Minister for Kainago Affairs, Cassius Daru, says the territory is well positioned to take advantage of the country's tourism industry.
The Kainago Barana Ote is our economic artery in the Kainago territory. Because really and truly, other than the Kainago Barana Ote, in terms of tourism sites and development, it is the best that we have, I believe, on island. If not the best, but it's second to none. And I believe the economic activity that we are creating in the Kainago territory through the Kainago Barana Ote is very far-reaching. Many times we in the community, we don't appreciate what is happening. But the Kainago Barana Ote has a lot of economic impact. So here we have the dancers who just dance, they're always here performing. We have the craft vendors who are selling at the Barana Ote. We have the craft weavers who are also benefiting. And we have the agricultural persons who are supplying food to the restaurants at the KBE.
Daru called on the Kainago community to work together to maintain and further develop the Barana Ote.
We need to take a collective approach to taking care of Barana Ote. The Barana Ote does not belong to the manager. It belongs to all of us in the community, and each of us has a responsibility to upkeep and take care of Barana Ote. And if something is going wrong also, we should voice our opinion and see how we remedy things and not just sitting on the criticizing side and say things are not going properly.
In related news, Kainago Chief Charles Williams wants to see greater economic return on the Kainago Barana Ote. Here is Julian Morris with more.
Williams was speaking at the reopening of the facility on Thursday. The Kalinago chief pointed to better advertising and marketing of the venue as a means of getting more visitors to the site.
This facility was supposed to have a manager, an assistant manager, and a marketing person. And none of those, well, apart from the manager today, none of those other positions are yet to be filled. And we expect sometimes great things to happen for this facility. But if we do not have a marketing person, obviously we're not attracting the business that we expected it to attract for us as a tourism facility, as a prime tourism facility on island. And I'm afraid, but we have to do something about that to at least have a marketing person in place for this facility. And if we really want to succeed with that facility.
Williams thanked the government for its $500,000 investment in restoring the model Kalinago village and says he wants to see more Kalinago people employed in the management of the facility.
This facility meant a lot of hope for the Kalinago people. However, in 2006, February of 2006, the doors of this facility was opened to the public, and it was supposed to be managed by the central government for 2 years, while somebody from the territory would understudy the project, and after 2 years would take over the project for the Kalinago people. Unfortunately, this is not the case today. We have had several consultancies here as to the operations of the facility.
Chief Charles says he would also like to see increased promotion of certain aspects of the attraction, including the water features.
We have work to do. We have to take care of the river that is flowing through. I think that should be like a Trafalgar Falls for us, because we have a fall down here, and I cannot say that we can use the waterfall as effective as we'd like to, as people utilize the Trafalgar Falls, because we have to clean up the rivers, and we have to make sure that the trails around are good and safe for people to use the facility and to improve the product and to sell it so that we can do more of it.
The Kalinago Barana Ote was first conceptualized in 1978 by the then Kalinago chief Faustulus Frederick.
In more top stories, journalist Pari Bellat is commending CARICOM for its position with reference to the Venezuela crisis, but believes President Maduro should consider leaving office for the good of the country. Bellat, a former Freedom Party press secretary, says he was impressed by CARICOM's firm stance in support of the principle of non-interference. That principle was espoused by Dominica's UN ambassador, Her Excellency Lauren Bannis Roberts, when she addressed the UN Security Council last week.
We in the CARICOM region have gained a lot from Venezuela. Venezuela has been extremely generous to us. And we have to remember that. And we will. We are human beings. The governments are human. And it's not any government. It is the government of Chavez and the government of Maduro that have been generous. So when you have a government that has been so generous, you're not going to come out and condemn them for this, that, and that. If there's things that are not, you're not too happy with how they're doing, say the police are a little rough on the people and so on, you may not even comment on that because it's your friend who are in government. The point is that it has reached a pretty bad state now. For years, as you know, Venezuelans have been fleeing the country. It's been so bad. I mean, close to starvation in some quarters. Years we've been here and they couldn't get, toilet paper and things like that. So it's been bad. Personally, I take a stronger line, different to CARICOM. I believe, we've got to send a message to Maduro that maybe the best thing for him finally is to accept, look, a substantial number of people no longer want you there. And maybe it's a time, to quit voluntarily, provided he can get good asylum somewhere, and maybe Cuba or Russia or China will give him that. But the point I'm making is that we have to understand why CARICOM is taking the position it has, all of them, because they've all, got a lot from Venezuela.
Bellat says Dominica itself is a good example of the generosity of the Venezuelan government.
And if you and Dominican visit Petrocarib, they will see the industrial size of that area, the number of Dominicans that are employed. And that was all through Chavez and Maduro. No, even when things were getting bad with Venezuela economically, the economy was, really in free fall almost a few years ago. You had IMF, you had World Bank and so on saying, look, you people in CARICOM, the governments, forget about Petrocarib. That will soon have to stop because Venezuela cannot afford to be so generous. But Venezuela still was. I was amazed for years and years. The oil still continued. The program, which sells oil to us at a very generous price and allows the governments now that money to be able to do a lot of social things and so on,
He says in light of the economic problems in Venezuela, it would not be surprising if a new administration decides to place greater emphasis on national needs.
And I suppose the governments also recognize one of the first things that any new government will look probably is go easy on this Petrocarib thing because it's been a drain on Venezuela. When you're full of money, and as you know, Venezuela should be a very rich country, but there's been a lot of mismanagement there, starting from Chavez. Chavez was a guy in my magazine Link I often praise for what he's doing to Dominica. I once had a full-page advertisement thanking him for his generosity. I had a great pleasure of meeting with him and he gave me a big hug on this kind of business. But I know that he wasn't managing Venezuela right at all. And his policies trying to help the poor were excessive. You cannot do everything for everybody. You've got to manage it. And you've got to manage the economy. He wasn't doing that. Maduro is even worse. I gather he doesn't much have an educational background. So all that doesn't help. But quite frankly, I respect the policy of the CARICOM governments. And quite frankly, I think it's great that they're united front. Now they asked. The CARICOM government said there should be dialogue, which, by the way, Maduro has accepted. He said he's even willing to talk to the opposition. He's not prepared to give up the government. He may have to, because if there's going to be a really free and fair election, he cannot be involved there.
President Maduro made an offer on Wednesday that he was willing to negotiate for the good of Venezuela. But he said there would not be a new presidential election until 2025, rejecting a demand by Juan Guaido. In other developments, the National Youth Council supports efforts to decriminalize marijuana, but remains concerned about the drug's potential impact on young people. The NYC was a key partner in the observance of Drug Awareness Month activities throughout January. Some of these activities included drug symposiums, exhibitions, and Don't Drink and Drive campaigns.
We had an activity in Woodfordale, and there were others that were planned that we were unable to attend because of other commitments and such. But the one in Woodfordale was excellent. We were looking at the question of the debate to decriminalize the use of marijuana and such. And so a questionnaire was developed by the Drug Prevention Unit, which sought to ask questions. And interestingly, coming out of that community, there are two things that I left Woodfordale with. First of all, one young lady in particularly said that if we were to push to decriminalize or even legalize marijuana, it would have a detrimental effect on young people, in the sense that they are already seeing in their communities that there are young persons who are dropping out of high school and partaking in the use of and abuse of marijuana. The second of which is also another young individual thought that it would be problematic for the community because there are often conflicts that arise out of these transactions, so to speak, and the involvement in terms of drug trafficking and such. So while there are proponents to say that there are positive effects or advantages rather of decriminalizing and largely in terms of the medicinal use of marijuana, the cons far outweigh the pros. And so I think as a council, we're only saying that if we're going ahead with that, then we must be responsible to ensure that all young people are safeguarded from such a move.
Barron says the NYC will continue to participate in the ongoing debate on the issue. He says the NYC welcomes government's announced intention to provide a fresh start for youth with drug convictions, but the organization is also concerned about potential abuse of that measure.
I think it is a good move if we're to give persons a fresh start as young individuals or young first-time offenders. But we have to also be mindful of that these individuals are not involved in repetitive acts. So again, it is one thing to set you free or to give you a clean slate, but it's another thing to police you for the rest of your life to ensure that you do not get up or you do not get involved in the same things which led you to that. Some persons may misconstrue it to think that if they have a clean slate, they can very well partake again in such an offense. If the decriminalization now exists, then it would limit them or sort of protect them from such a situation. So on one hand, it is a good move, but I'm not sure if you're guarding this, but there are always pros and cons to everything.
I realize you're saying this could serve as almost like motivation for us to go back, say, okay, why am I still clean? Let me go back again.
Precisely.
You know, that kind of thing.
Precisely. So there are a number of systems that must be put in place to ensure that first, young people are safeguarded, and secondly, that it doesn't harmfully affect us as a society.
The theme for this year's Drug Awareness Month was Youth. Let's talk about alcohol and other drugs, a conversation that could change your life. You are watching the Channel 5 News. Stay tuned for more after the break.
The government of Dominica has articulated its vision to become the world's first climate-resilient nation, with a view of protecting its people and the environment. Effective January 1st, 2019, the government of Dominica will ban the importation of single-use plastics and styrofoam products, with a view of ensuring that our nature island will remain clean and green.
First off, the DHTA would like to commend the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica for instituting this ban on styrofoam and plastics. This is something that the DHTA has been advocating for the last 4 years. We've already seen several of our members and the DHTA itself ban plastics and styrofoam from all our events. We believe that this is a step in the right direction in order for us to preserve our Nature Island brand.
5 years ago, the Fort Young Hotel, as part of our sustainability initiative, took the decision to ban styrofoam and single-use plastic at the hotel. Our guests have been quite appreciative in terms of the hotel's decision to go green, basically, and they're very happy to be part of what we're doing, as they feel that they too are contributing to the protection of Dominica's environment and sustainability.
In this beach bar started a year ago, and we decided to use biodegradable products, seeing that we're located on the beachfront and Meru is a beach cleaning community. We decided to do our part by using biodegradable products. I've had customers who came, and when we presented them with their takeaway meals, some people hug me, some people kiss me. They're so happy to be using biodegradable products.
In order to preserve our nature island, we must be proactive in our approach towards the conservation of our environment. This move will certainly make Dominica more attractive to the environmentally conscious traveler. A message from the Ministry of Environment, Climate Resilience, Disaster Management and Urban Renewal, and the Ministry of Tourism and Culture.
Imagine you have Hollywood at your command. Introducing Flow Evil.
Red cheese, gold rings, all black, everything creeping through the night.
Anywhere you are.
Big girls don't scream hard like Halloween, make me feel alive.
There's a world of entertainment here, and you run the show. Flow Evil.
Welcome back. 1 week after President Donald Trump's administration recognized an opposition leader as Venezuela's interim president, the Latin American country's disputed leader, Nicolas Maduro, warned on Wednesday that the United States was in danger of turning his country into another Vietnam War.
Maduro is reported to have tweeted, "People from the USA, I ask for your support in order to reject the interference of Donald Trump's administration, which intends to turn my homeland into a Vietnam War in Latin America. Don't allow it." In a video published in Spanish on his Facebook account, Maduro said if the US intends to invade, they will have a Vietnam worse than they can imagine. Maduro has accused the US of attempting to stage a coup against his government. Speculation that Trump may be preparing to send troops to Venezuela was fueled this week after National Security Advisor John Bolton was seen holding a notepad that read 5,000 troops to Colombia. Colombia borders Venezuela. Former Press Secretary Parry Bellot has also commented on speculation about a possible US invasion of Venezuela.
What I was worried about, and I put that in my column, is the mad dog president that's in the United States. He may do something stupid like try and invade. That's not what the CARICOM government wants. That's not what the world needs now. So I hope he will restrain himself, you know. But as I say, I'm very empathetic to the needs of the Venezuelan people. They've been suffering a lot. And really, I think they need a change.
To what extent, Mr. Bella, do you think the embargo on PDVSA, the main oil company,
by the US,
soften up Maduro's position?
Absolutely. That's going to be very interesting because he's going to feel the pinch. 80%, according to what I said on BBC, of their revenue is oil. And 40% of that, 80%, comes from US buying their oil, special deal and so on. The US has said, well, we might still buy, but we ain't paying you. That's going to be locked in an account. Now, he has gone further, Trump, and said, we're going to give the new government that he recognizes access to that money. So that means that the military, all of a sudden, who depend bread and butter on the government, and they're well protected, get their meals and their salaries regular. If that stops, absolutely. So that's what we're going to have to see what happens.
And the people of the Kainago territory promised more tourism developments in their community. That's according to Minister for Tourism and Culture, Robert Tong. Tong says plans are already in the works to develop kiosks along the highway to cater to those who drive through the territory.
We have new projects, which would be the construction of the 8 craft kiosks on the Sally Bay Highway, again, to allow persons to generate their income. And also a signage project for every hamlet. That was done many, many years ago, but as you're driving through the area, persons want to know where should they stop. And one of the things that we're doing too is, it wouldn't just be a basic sign, it'll be a sign that is almost like a seat in the same sense. So persons can stop, they can sit down, they can take a picture, and at the same time, as you said, with social media, persons can now post and say, hey, I've been to that hamlet, I've been to this hamlet. And by posting it again, it makes more persons aware of the Kalinago territory, and hopefully it will entice more persons to come and stay in the territory.
Minister Tong also assured the Kainago people that a more thorough cleanup will be done in the area to help promote Dominica's clean and green image.
I'm happy to see that the territory is very clean in terms of the way that the sides of the roads are being maintained. I think we have to do some work in terms of, and we've mentioned that in cabinet a couple of times, the huge logs, we have to do an extra program to move those. We have to do some programs to move the some of the white goods that you have and the galvanized, but these things take time. You can well imagine, even with our own homes, there are many things that we would like to have done, but it takes time to do all of these things. And likewise, the same thing happens to the KBA.
Meantime, the Member of Parliament for the Sally Bay constituency is looking forward to a continued collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism and Culture to enhance other sites in the area.
And in the near future, I hope from the Ministry of Tourism we can work collectively to continue to develop our other sites. For example, Tuna Village. We need to start promoting Tuna Village as our Kalinago Water Village, that's how it is called, Tuna. We have the L'Escalier, the Centipede Trail, and there are several other areas in the community that we have to develop and present it as a package to the tourism, as a tourism product.
To end the news, the headlines again. Optimism in the Kainago territory that a renovated Brano Ote could boost tourism and create employment. Former Freedom Party Press Secretary Pari Bellat says new leadership could be best for the people of Venezuela. And the National Youth Council remains concerned about the potential impact that legalizing cannabis could have on the country's vulnerable young people. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Andrea Louis, and to all of our viewers around the world, thank you so much for watching. Join us next time.